Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 2nd, 2023 at approximately 4:28 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools that I personally live by, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same philosophies of life that I guide my life by. This said, now that came out really klutzy, but that's okay. This said, it's open chat today, and before we get into it, we have eternity, eternal through the door with the gold. The Nami Tonga, welcome aboard. You pulled silver. So I do hope your days have been going well. Today I just got news, so my whole schedule for today, I was supposed to be going on to World Show this afternoon to listen in on it. But as per usual, my schedule has gotten completely scrambled. And I've got to make a quick errand as soon as I get off the stream here, and then get back. But the show that I ended up avoiding, or more to the point, I ended up avoiding talking about, I finally have the chance to watch tonight. So tonight, as soon as I've got available time, I will be actually sitting down to watch Dungeons and Dragons. Just the way my life goes on occasion, just gets completely scrambled. Now, what do we got here? I've already got it set up and it's actually working today. Steve, you are in with the bronze. How you doing there, Steve? Glad you could join us. Now let's get a couple of things out of the way. I need that. Where is my coffee is going right up there out of the way. And where am I here? That I've got to replace. That's okay. Got that. I've got most of my stuff actually in place today, which is a really neat change. But what the heck? Now let's see if that actually comes off. Nope, so we just paint over it. So, we have, that is holiday green, holiday red. Okay, so I know what I've got going on there. I am very happy about the fact that I managed to find, yeah, that's right. What color is that? That's purple. I think we should do that. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Just trying to figure while I'm here, I've got another little project I'm working on. Like, I didn't have enough. But let's get the eyeballs on so I can see what's being written here. This, too bad I can't blow that up a little. Now, of course, guys, like, this is Sunday. I don't schedule anything for it. So with that in mind, if you've got a question, even if we're not on the same topic at this point, okay, whatever it is, if you've got a question in literally any field, come right out and ask. Okay, if I've got an answer, I'll give you an answer. But when you do put it in the chat room, make certain you put it at least partially in all caps. Or put that funny little wavy hand sign in. This is not called yelling at me. This is literally just getting my attention. Okay, kind of a necessity if you're trying to ask me a question. Because in case you haven't noticed, there are days when that doesn't work that well. Whoop, forgot one itty bitty detail. That's not bad. Only one is not a bad move. Now, I don't think you can see that over there. You can't. And that's okay. Try not to hurt ourselves, which would be a nice change. Gonna have to take a look at that. But yeah, I do not want to drink that. Coffee's up there. That goes there, so that works. So anyway, guys, I'm looking at this in this fashion. When you're looking at your world, at the way your world is working, be absolutely certain that you make sure that you have decided what kind of, what the heck is wrong with that? That just did not work all that well. That should be better. Anyway, as I said before, now normally, I don't talk about Christmas a whole lot during the year. Okay, because from my standpoint, why would you bother? Christmas comes in December, but because of the fact that I've got this neat little idea that when you're dealing with Christmas gifts or any sort of gift, if you can at least put some of your work into it in the way of actual personal work. Like, obviously, if you know the fact I do not do pottery, as it were, this particular little pot I picked up for the right price, and now it's just a question of coloring it. Now, it's going to apparently take a fair chunk of paint because it looks like it's being absorbed straight into the pot. But I'm looking at it going, well, I'm just going to change the color of it because, well, that's what I want to do. Now, do understand where it comes to Inner Voice Enterprises. So I'm working on a few things that have to do with birthdays. Now, of course, the reality of it is, if you're interested in even having a shot at something happening regarding your birthday, and many of you don't care one way or the other about what your birthday is, but I am bound and determined to make certain that my company does not ever start treating people like just a number. Now, I don't know how it's going to come into play, but I do know that birthdays themselves, to some people, mean a lot. To me personally, my birthday really came to mean very little, but it has something to do with being dead way too many times. So what I'm working on here is just taking an idea and going, okay, let's get it painted and let's get this started working and making certain that this is the best Christmas that we put together in literally decades. This does not mean that I'm planning on spending a whole lot of money. Okay, I mean, get this. Now, the person this is going to, I already know who this is going to, but the person that this is going to really likes their house plants. So, I didn't ask them what they desired because, in my opinion, a gift, a Christmas gift or a birthday gift is not a question of what the person asks for. It's a question of what you feel that you'd like to give them. What I don't know is if this is going to be a birthday gift, or because the birthday is so close to Christmas that I figure, okay, this may be a birthday gift, it may be a Christmas gift. I haven't decided. What I have decided is who it's going to. So I figure this way I'll be able to wrap it up. I'll be able to get this one out of the way and not have to worry about it. Now, here we are in July. Okay. Neat part about this is we're in July and I'm dealing with gifts. This is one of those neat little side ventures I've got on the go. Okay. It's not like I didn't have enough to work with, to work on. So I've got this going on. And then, of course, when the stream is done, other than what I've already told you about, one thing I will be doing while I'm watching Dungeons & Dragons tonight And no, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to see any chatter in the room about what happened in the show. I would really appreciate leaving that topic alone. Primarily because of the fact that, well, I want to see it, and I don't like spoilers at the best time. I don't even look at trailers of movies. But again, the newsletter I'll be finished the majority of writing it today. Okay. Then I've just got to do a little bit of editing on it and away it goes. So it'll be ready to go out by the middle of the month. So there's a lot going on, a lot of changes that I'm looking at making. But the real question I've got for you is, from your standpoint, are you happy with the way your life is going? Okay, this is just one of those this right here that I'm working on is just one of those little projects that I work with to make certain that I'm actually getting accomplished the things that I feel are missing. Now, way too many companies, way too many people totally ignore the little things in life. And I'll tell you, it's the little things in life that do make life more interesting for you. In my opinion, anyway. I'm not worried about whether or not I spend a lot of money. I pay attention to what I'm spending, certainly. Matter of fact, I've tracked that all the way down to the penny at this point. And I'm looking at this going, there's got to be a way to make the world a better place, a happier place. There is so much concentration on the things that are going wrong with the world, the shortages that we're having. I'll tell you, the one thing I find that we've got an extreme shortage of, and I should actually look at that. I did see Steve Knox come in here. And Cowie, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The one thing I know that this world is having a severe shortage of, we are having a severe shortage of goodwill, a severe shortage of enjoyment and entertainment. To this end, I figure, what the heck? Let's see what we can do about making this, at least from my end, with what I can do, making this a better world. Okay, a happier world, a more joyful world. The reality is, if you'd like to get depressed, there's a lot of newspapers, a lot of news agencies out there, a lot of magazines that can fill your head with all kinds of advertisements of ways you can spend major money. Okay. Now, this thing's still wet, but that's okay. The reality is, the best reaction for gifts that I've seen in decades, I actually have to go back to 2008 to one of the best ones I ever saw. Okay, now let's get this out of the way. Don't even worry about that because I didn't paint the bottom of it. Where is? Put that there. And I don't know. The thing I showed this to you before, guys. Nope, that'll have to wait until later because I'm not going hunting for it anymore. But the thing I have found is that when you're looking at giving a gift to somebody, see, it was brought to my attention years ago. I had a girlfriend that came out. She came right out and asked. She goes, Keith, what do you think of birthdays? I looked at her. I said, I could care less about them. Okay. So that was the end of the discussion. And, 2 days later, she went dead silent, right? And I finally asked her a couple of days after that. So we're looking at about 4 days silence. I said, what pray tell is wrong? Like, what did I do that all of a sudden you've gone silent? And she looks at me and she goes, you missed my birthday. I said, when was your birthday? So she tells me, and I said, well, why didn't you tell me? She said, well, I asked you what you thought about birthdays. I said, yeah, about my birthday is what I thought you were referring to. And about my birthday, I could seriously care less. Okay, now you got to remember, I had only been dating this woman for less than a month when she brought this topic up. So I had no idea what her birthday was. Matter of fact, to this day, I still can't remember what it was. But I told her, I said, look, my birthday I never have cared about. Other people's birthdays, I know they matter. Okay, a lot of people have a real big thing about celebrating their birthday, about being at least acknowledged on their birthday. You know, so from my standpoint, it's like, okay, how can I take that knowledge and put it to use without crippling a lot of things? Now, here's the neat part. Okay, now think of it this way: if you like plant, if you like house plants, okay, which is going to be more enjoyable from your standpoint. Okay, would you rather a picture of a picture of a plant or an actual plant itself, or would you rather something that was hand done? Like in this case, I didn't make the pot. Okay, I picked the pot up for the right price. It literally was something somebody had dropped off in the lobby, which I usually take stuff down from our lobby. I'll take it down to Value Village, and have it resold. Like just get it, recycle it. In this case, this showed up in the lobby, and I went, no, I know exactly how to put that to use. Right. So I've got the cost of the pot, which is $0, and the paint that I'm using here, right, is just standard acrylic paint. Not that color, obviously. Okay. So it's just standard acrylic paint that I'm working with. But these tubes up here, these things cost me $1 a piece. So we are not talking about a whole lot of expense here. I don't see the point in spending a lot if you don't have to. Now, don't get me wrong. I got nothing against getting the finer things in life. Okay. I just have a little bit of a hold up where it comes to paying for them, paying top dollar for them. Because again, if I like the finer things, I like things looking like I've got the best of the best. But I'll tell you, it's much better in my eyes if I can get said item for next to nothing. Or, as I did in this case, for nothing. Now, as you can tell, I'm going to have to leave this sit pretty quick. Because what I'm finding while I'm trying to paint this is that the paint is sinking in so bad, it's either sinking in or it's not drying fast enough to deal with. And I want to get a base on it. So that's what I'm doing here. Don't know what color I'm doing the other one just yet. But in your eyes, which is better? Something that is store-bought or something that's handmade? Okay, and I know a lot of people will look at it and go, well, the store-bought stuff, it looks so nice. And usually it does. I will not be making electronic toys for people. That'd be something that you take a look at what Nathan does from the Quantum Show. Okay, now his making electronic gifts makes sense because he's got a really good head on his shoulders for it. I don't know how well Shadow is set up as far as electronics go, but I do know how he's set up where it comes to painting figures and what have you. But in your guys' opinion, what do you feel is better, a store-bought item or one that's hand worked? Just a curiosity thing on my end, in my eyes, something like that. I don't know. But I decided this was one of those little projects I was going to make happen. You know, so that I was actually putting effort into Christmas. Now this is only one of the many gifts I'm going to be working on. Just so happens to be the one that I've got in my hand at this point. You know, and the nice part about it, in my eyes, when I get done, this one, I'm going to move on to another project that I can work on. And I'll see how much I can get stacked up and ready to go. You know, it doesn't matter to me whether and this is a really weird topic for me. Normally, I don't bother with it. Okay, not at this time of year. Gordana, how you doing? Yeah, I wouldn't even try and bake cauliflower. I like cauliflower, don't get me wrong, Gordana, but my ability to cook is not something to write personal things, nice things home about. You know, but I figure I will be working now on different projects, on including this is in addition to the writing projects I'm working on. In order to make things happen in what I consider the best way possible. But I've got a lot of little projects. I don't even know how many different ones I'll be dealing with. I've got to actually put a list together of the people I'm looking at. One of the tasks that is coming into the very near future here, because I got 6 months to get everything done. And I do want to make certain they're done properly. Done properly in my eyes. Because let's face it, the trick is to give people something that that you feel they would like. Absolutely take into consideration the things that they do like. Like, I would never give a plant pot like this to somebody that was heavily into mechanics. To me, that just does not make any functional sense. But then maybe that's my somewhat practical side coming out. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking it might be. So it is coming along. And before the end of tonight, I might actually have a chunk of it finished. But it really boils down to an issue of making certain that I put the necessary effort in. What I consider the necessary effort anyway. But, the thing is, if you take a look at it, it's not as thick as I'd like, because the terracotta is coming through. Now, I don't mind it coming through to a degree, but I certainly have this idea that I would like it to be pretty much reasonably uniform. Bit of a perfectionist in some ways. One of the things I am going to be looking at, I will have hopefully by the end of today, I will have most of August newsletter done. Okay. Now again, there is a very big difference between what I will be doing with email subscribers, okay, as compared to snail mail or solid mail subscribers. There are different things that are available. Because obviously, if I decide to do something in the way of Christmas gifts and what have you, if all I've got is an email address, it takes you sort of out of the running if I decide to go that route. Now, if you don't care, if you're not into that kind of a thing, that's okay. I mean, realistically, I have to look at it and go, okay, this is the route that I'm going to make sure that my perception on my business is working right. And, in my opinion, if more people were to pay more attention to putting effort into the gifts, taking the time to make them work, okay, there would be a lot of it, and there would be a much different feel around the house. Okay, or around the business. Now, I'm lucky from the standpoint of I can lead by doing things and going, this is what I'm doing. Now, here's a neat little thing. There was a guy in New York. Okay. Gordon is just adding here, use prime. The ceramic you have is very porous, and a lot of paint is going to be wasted. I do appreciate that, Gordana. I don't know, mind you, primer. As far as now, I don't know what primer technically is. How you doing, Lunar? Glad you could join us. Did I miss somebody coming in? Not by the look of it. You know, I suspect primer is a paint of sorts that just seals the back end of it. Now, whether I call it wasted or not is a debatable point, but I do understand your point, and therefore, it's one of those things. Again, I'm just starting to get back into this side, so I do appreciate the input. You know, I'm not unhappy with the way it's turning out. You know, and it really does boil down to, okay, I know where this one's going, and I will be putting a list together. But like I said, with the newsletter, if I'm sending it to you by email or mail, it won't matter. It's the same price. Absolutely nothing. Okay, because I run it straight through my advertising budget. You know, the life is an interesting situation, and quite literally, it is what we make it. In my case, I look at it going, I'm doing my best to come out of the to come out of hiding. I spent over a decade essentially avoiding people. And I finally came to the conclusion that if I'm going to make things change, I'm going to have to come out of hiding and make it happen. Which is why I'm doing what I'm doing here. Now, what I'm going to be doing with birthdays, I don't know. I can tell you this. I'm not going to be dealing with, I'm not going to ever sell addresses to anybody. And since my entire database is on hard copy, makes it kind of easy. Makes it kind of easy for me to stay on top of things. And makes it absolutely impossible for any modern day hacker to get into my database. Because let's face it, if you've got a hard copy database, computers don't do you any good. Yeah, I know. I actually turned away from people because I found them extremely frustrating. I was watching so many people claim to be trying to help people, and yet what you watched, or what I watched anyway, was more and more people claiming to be really interested in helping and doing nothing but, doing nothing but trying to control people. And, I got told the other day that, let's blame the elites for it. And I'm telling you, the elites are not the problem. I mean, I hope to one day, considering people seem to think elites are people with a whole pile of money. Okay, considering that's the way they are. Okay, I look at it this way. Hopefully, one day I will be seen as an elite with a whole pile of money and less concern, but in my case, less concern for said money than I have for the joy it can bring other people. Because money in my wallet, yeah, it'll take away my stress level. Absolutely. But it will do absolutely nothing to help the other people around me. Okay, and considering the fact I know some of you suffer from this problem yourself, where you're empathic. Gordon is just saying during C19, government exercise prison, I gathered all kinds of bottles from friends, primed them, painted them, added ceramic beads, glass beads, paint them, and put epoxy, just kind of add to decorate them a little. You know, that's an excellent, and this is something that I hope carries on because I'll tell you, last year for me was a little on the sketchy side. Like we really didn't have. I remember when I was a kid, you'd have all kinds of gifts around the tree. Now the funny thing about it is the same thing happened for us at birthdays. Okay, so what I'm looking at is this. Years ago, my brother, my older brother gave me a gift that stood out amongst all the others, and that includes that deck of tarot cards that I've shown you. You know, this little deck of cards was one of the most impactful gifts I ever got. Okay. I got this in 1979, a deck of tarot cards, this literal one. As it turned out, it laid out the groundwork for me to go into a profession. You know, that's what the groundwork was. But the gift that actually made the biggest impact was one that my brother gave me about 5 years before he died. You know, what he did was, things were a little tight. So what he did was he went to the grocery store, bought a whole bunch of groceries, wrapped each one of them in a separate box, in separate wrapping, turned around, and put them all into a bigger box, wrapped that in wrapping, and put that under the tree for me. I'll tell you, it was, and I'll use the term all it in a very loose fashion. But all it was food. But I'll tell you, it made the biggest impact on my life. To this day, it is still debatably one of the best gifts I ever got. That I ever received. And from my way of looking at it, it's one of those gifts that I'm going to turn around and I will end up doing that for a number of people. Because food is one of those things that people just don't, people use it. They really do. And it just dawned on me, I've got a lot of people locally that I know that they may not be, they may not be poor as in, going down to the food bank or what have you, but the working poor are the people that are out there working your tail feathers off, struggling really hard to get ahead. Okay. Really struggling hard to get ahead. So, from my standpoint, you go with if you're looking at buying food for somebody, just like donating to the food bank. Okay, and I'm sitting here working on this going, I know what I can do with a lot of different gifts. And I've got the way to do it. So, I'm going to turn around and put a bunch of food packages together for people that I know that are working really hard and may well be having a little bit of trouble with food, with having enough food. So I can go and just give it to the food bank, and let them figure out who gets it, and then you can guarantee almost. And I've heard all kinds of rumors that many people working in food banks will take the cream of the crop. In my eyes, I'm going to do something a little different. Now, I could go and buy gift certificates, but I'm thinking buying a gift certificate doesn't have the same thing as actually buying the food. Yeah, Lunar goes, I was working poor even though I didn't have to. What else are we going to do? Well, I can think of a number of things. But in case you hadn't noticed, I got sort of forced into retirement when, back in December. And, the company I was working for closed. And I'm looking at it going, okay, now I can sit back and I can complain that I'm unemployed, or I can occupy myself. So I went, no, I'm just going to occupy myself. So this is just one of those little projects I'm going to be working on. And as you can see, it's slowly coming together. Now, I did figure out, I was thinking I'm going to try and color the rings, but if I do the paint properly, the rings can be left the terracotta color. It'll work as a nice break for them. Yeah, Luna goes, Chad, how we doing? Okay, let us get this sorted around here. That's what I need. I've got to go up here, close that down. No, that's not what I needed. I need that. And this here is the link to Chad's archives. Okay, and absolutely drop in, take a look at them. I don't know if he's producing any more just yet, but he's got some really neat stuff that he's put online. So give it a listen. Do subscribe to his channel. Give him a thumbs up if you like them. Do subscribe to the channel. And share the daylights out of it. Yeah, Chad's just letting us know. Not yet. Maybe someday. Yeah, no harm there. And I see, football, that your job is just filed Chapter 11. And that, unfortunately, is, that is, in my opinion, worse for the owner. Again, I mean, it's just as bad for the staff. It's just as bad for the staff. But going Chapter 11 means that whoever the owner of the company was is now, no matter how they dealt with people, they are, they're in worse shape. It's harder on the company, on the owner, can we try English? What do you think? Maybe one thought at a time. The too big, they've lost everything if they've gone Chapter 11. Now understand, I personally went Chapter 11 twice. Once by what I call creative financing. The second time because my boss bounced a check and nobody told me about it, the boss or the bank, until it was frankly too late. By the way, Chad, I did not miss that. I thank you very much for putting the effort in and the extra support. From my standpoint, that is very much appreciated. Still trying to figure out, how to make things more interesting, how to, draw a better audience. Because I'm telling you, we've got to start working together. And we have started it. This chat room is pretty obvious. It is a pretty obvious issue. Okay. Oh, creative financing. I had at the time 11 credit cards, and one in particular, because of when I did it, I managed to take a $1,000 credit card. I took a $1,000 credit card and spent $2,000 on it before they shut it down on me. Joe, in all honesty, I really did not. If you would be kind enough, Joe just said, did you see my open table question? And the unfortunate part is no. But if you would be kind enough to repost it, that would be absolutely great. And I will, I'll keep an eye open for it and get to it again. Yeah, Chad, that unfortunately was exactly the problem, is I figured out how to do that. And like I said, I had 11 credit cards at the time. Really, really, really creative way of doing it. But I happened to have figured out when the bill came in, and of course, the advantage I had that you don't have now is you turn around, you'd have to send it in, they'd have to submit the thing before they ever got it recorded. Well, the reality is I wasn't spending any more than I am now, but I also wasn't tracking what I was doing with money. So now I pay close attention to what I'm doing, to the point I can tell you per minute and to the minute. No, in my case, the one I pulled that off on was Canadian Tire. I've never actually had a Chase Manhattan credit card. But then I'm in Canada. I don't even know if Chase Manhattan has one up here. Actually, Chad, that's very much the case. You know, credit was one of those things that was designed. I'm absolutely certain of it. They designed it for the people that carry the credit cards to actually, make even more money. Because it's not what you're spending that matters. It's the interest that they're charging you if you don't pay it off all of them right away. But yeah, I am watching for that question there, Chad, or not Chad, Joe. Because I will tell you, my trying to find a past one is a royal pain. Because sadly, Joe, I didn't actually even see you come through the door. Where are we here? I'm just scanning through because I'm curious if I can find it at all. And the answer is no. So I am definitely watching for it here. But I came to the conclusion that where it comes, like right now, I've got a Canadian Tire credit card and a President's Choice credit card. You know, I did apply for one from I don't even know who it was, but it was through Costco. And I put the application in. Right. And what they did was they said, I've just got a couple more questions for you before we can continue with your application. I want the front 4 pages of your last year's income tax return. I went, you're not getting it. You don't require it. You know, because in all fairness, I've got 2 cars. I really didn't care if I had a third one. Let's go way back and see. Go way back up to the top here. I'm just scanning through here, Joe. And you're not even listed at the beginning. So whatever happened, I don't know. But your name doesn't even come up at the beginning of it. Yeah, the neat part about the credit is, people they talk about it in Canada. I'm telling you, I've talked to people in the States, in Australia, in England, France, you name it. They all run things essentially the same way. We are not taught how to handle it properly. Derek, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You take care, John Lunar, and do appreciate you dropping in. The neat part about it from my standpoint is when you get a credit and when you buy something on credit, get it paid as soon as you can. Okay, so you're not actually paying the interest on, then it becomes viable. But it did take me a lot of work and a lot of personal loss to be able to account for that. Oh, heavens. Chad, you got to understand. From my standpoint, I do a very simple little issue. I always have something on the go. This is just what I happen to choose to do today. Look at the bright side. I'm not actually striving to type while I'm talking. But this is normal. I don't do one thing at a time. I honestly don't think I actually know how to do one thing at a time anymore. But I'm looking at this going, this is just one of those little issues. Now, I will tell you, I have been going through things to make certain everything. Cowie, to be honest, I don't know how not to multitask. Okay, the fact of the matter is, I do the online horoscopes for a company, on the internet. Only while I'm doing them, I may well be watching a show, doing some painting, because I dictate the horoscopes and get somebody else to type them. Quite frankly, I get my executive assistant to type them. And yes, I do actually pay her as well. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Joe, I still haven't seen the question come up here, which does kind of confuse me, but I am watching for it. I just haven't seen it show up. Yeah, Derek goes, we started the remake movie of The Secret Garden. I've never seen The Secret Garden in the first place, so I don't know what that's all about. I think I remember hearing the title of it at one point, but I've never actually sat down and watched it. Yeah, I keep having to take my glasses off because I need the glasses to read the chat, but I can't see close up with them anymore, which simply means my eyesight is improving to the point the glasses are becoming almost an annoyance. Although I do know I require them for both working on the computer and for driving. Fortunately, I don't believe in working on the computer while I'm driving. The nice part about this is just one of those things that I do. When I got done this, after I'm done my live stream, I've got to run an errand. I've got 6 pages that are already written for Return to Paradise that have to be moved over to soft copy. And then I've also got a bunch of writing to work on where it comes to the races of the worlds. Haven't forgotten about it, but I've got that one going. I've got Believe in Your Job and Follow Your Dreams going. And of course, what just dawned on me today, where it comes to the gifts, I've got a way of actually putting a whole pile of food aside and to pack it away so that people can have a really good Christmas. Now don't get me wrong, I'm a firm believer that gifts any time of the year are a good thing. And when I talk about taking 10% of my net income and putting that into charity, as in buying somebody a meal, buying somebody their groceries, maybe buying somebody a can, just a little trinket because, well, they wanted one and they couldn't afford it. And there are times when a gift for a child is really convenient. I'm just looking at this. No, Cowie, I have 8 in print. Okay, I've got 8 in print. All of them are only available through me, thanks to complications. But this is the email address to get a hold of me if you're interested in any of them. This email address is also the one that I use to take payments through PayPal, because I either take them direct, email transfer, or through PayPal. Either one of them, that's the email address to use. Okay. Now, from that standpoint, I've got 8 in print. I've got 23 I'm currently writing at the same time. 8 more in queue. Okay. And yes, if you would like a list of the different books I've got, okay, give you the one website that has 7 out of the 8 listed on it. The 8th one only just came out and I haven't phoned them, okay, to get it updated. But if you drop me an email, I will absolutely send you a 2-page file that explains what all 8 of the books are. As a matter of fact, it technically tells you what 12, 24, I think 27 of them are, because 12 and 24 are under the same topic or more to the point, 12 are in one science fiction, science fantasy genre saga. Then I've got 12 books. I've tried, and then I've got 12 self-help books called Believe in Your. Right now, we've got self, business, finance that are already in print. Believe in your job and follow your dreams is getting ready to come out. And honestly, their football, I personally haven't tried it. Then I personally find popcorn, unless it's caramel coated, which I don't mind. Standard popcorn, I actually don't enjoy that much. So, my kid, on the other hand, goes through microwave popcorn all the time. I just don't know what brand it is. I think it's Rickenbacker, but I could be wrong on that, which wouldn't be a shock for me. By the way, I was really happy to find out, and I know I go out for dinner too much, but I don't drink, and I don't do drugs, and I don't smoke. So spending money in a restaurant, to me, is not a bad thing. Now, that's an odd thing to run out of. It's kind of like running out of toilet paper. Yeah, Gordana, when I was growing up, mom and dad were, of course, they had a lot going on, but they were also block parents. So it was quite normal for us to come home from whatever we were doing and find 15, 20 kids in the backyard. And mom and dad's first question was, did you guys call home? And of course, they'd stop and, no, we didn't. Okay, line up and phone your parents and let them know where you are. This is something I would love to replicate, but in today's world, there is so much fear going on that I figure the road I'm going down ought to help. I'm thinking that there are a lot of things that we can do as society to make things a whole lot better than what it has been. But it's time we come out of that fear-based path that we went down in the last lockdown. It's time for all of us to really put our heads together and go, how can we make this world better? How can we turn this back around and bring that joy back into track? This is something that is it's just one of those things I look at going, I've seen worlds where people have all the money in the world and they are still miserable. They're still fighting with each other. And you see some families that barely have enough food to put on the table. And all of a sudden you've got a problem. You guys just get... I know, this is July. And I'll tell you, Christmas is the last thing I deal with. I do not permit Christmas songs or Christmas movies in my house, until December 1st. After December 31st, nothing. Only during the month of December. My rule, my house. That's simple. It's been that way my entire life since I moved out. However, I did figure out something that is going to be a wonderful idea. Okay. And I just have to go and talk because something I've just decided on. And I do this, I'll be working away and going, here's an idea I can work with. Now, grocery stores regularly give away they regularly give away food for Christmas. Here's a basket for whatever. Okay. Now, in your guys' opinion, what do you think? What do you think of this idea? And quite frankly, I'm pretty sold on it. But take a bunch of money down to the grocery store, pay for X number of turkeys, and then turn around and go, okay, put these up for a lottery. Okay, just for a draw. No cost to get into the draw. Okay, but put it up for a draw where they can go and get a turkey, where they don't have to pay for it. Yeah, you notice that too, Derek. Derek's just saying, Derek's just going, You would be lucky to get, to get 4 kids outside at one time playing at someone's house. Kimberly, how you doing? Glad you could join us. These are just little ideas. I don't know what prompted me to go down this road, but then I don't plan days. This is why I call Sunday an open topic, because I have no idea what my mouth is going to go into gear on. Half the time, I don't know what's going into gear on anyway. But at least I know exactly what I'm up to. And yes, I realize, Gordana, I actually didn't overlook what you were saying. I can see what you mean by this type of pot absorbs a staggering amount of paint. I really can. But from my standpoint, it's a case of, okay, well, I got started on this one. This will work. I will improve as time goes on. Okay. It's just a question of finding things that I can do that, I am not, if you will, overly artistically inclined. But I do know what I like, and I do know that if you do things like this, and just little care packages, for people. And, we had a neighbor here that just ended up, they had the worst thing happen to them. Wonderful, loving family. The father all of a sudden was gone. Now, Kimberly's just saying, I follow Reproduction in his work. Now, what I don't know is what Reproduction is. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, there, Derek. The thing is, there's so much that we can share with each other. There is so much that we can do to pull the world together and really come out and end up with a world that we can be absolutely tickled pink with. And I was asked why I do what I do one day, and it really boils down to this. I'm a full empath, and I don't get that neat little option of, I just shut it down and ignore it. I don't get that option. If you're empathic, that proximity makes it harder to deal with. I'll tell you, when we lost the neighbor, when he passed away, the emotional, the loss that the parents and the wife were feeling, when I ended up standing close to them momentarily, was almost overwhelming. It was bad for me. You can just picture what it was for them. But no, I do not do like some people claim and go, I just shut it off. I don't. Problem is, not only do I feel what people are going through, but I feel what the planet is going through. What do we got here? Yeah. And there goes, Reproduction can get a little worked up at times, but generally he's on the right path. That's the thing. I take a look at what people did, some of the researchers. I don't research. I'm actually not doing bad right now. Last night was a bit of a shambles, thanks, Christine. My blood pressure while I was on the show with Nathan shot all the way. It shot all the way up to 100. It was, what was it? 154 over 99. Right. Which 154 isn't too bad, but the 99 was a bit of a mess. Right. My pulse while I was sitting still hit 89, I think it was. While I was sitting still and everything was going fine. Took me about a half an hour to bring it back down to a functional level. But no, I've been getting a whole lot working and a whole lot going. Oh, I intended to. I just got a little sidetracked. Yesterday I was planning on, and then my life went right sideways and didn't have time. I am going to be doing shorter shows. I don't know what happened last night, but then my blood pressure does absolutely bizarre things. Yeah, when my blood pressure goes up, I get dizzier than all get out. Right. And yeah, in this case it was bad enough to upset my stomach. And trust me, that takes a lot of work. You know, so I got off, laid down in front of a fan for a little while. I was fine. And yes, I did take that into consideration. For those of you that do think that way, I did take my hawthorn berry juice this morning for the heart, as well as my electrolytic balancer. As I told my other half, yeah, I won't go to a doctor because frankly they don't seem to know what my system's up to anyway. But will I pay attention when I feel something's off kilter? Absolutely. That's just the way that I do things. But I'm looking at a number of issues here, right? And that's okay. Well, make sure I put the paintbrush in the right bin. I do not want my paintbrush going into my coffee because that's just wrong. So that's not bad. Where are we? That's not bad. Okay, I've still got obviously 2 more rungs I've got to do here. And I do have the paint together for them. I'm going to leave this one dry for a bit. But like I said, this year, now I've got to do finances today and figure out what I'm standing on. What have we got here? That's just it, Christine. I was looking at it. Everything was going great. Everything was talking just absolutely brilliantly. Shade, how you doing? Yeah, open table, Shade, in case you missed the uptake on that. Any question you have, any field, doesn't matter. Now, I'm not the best of everything, of anything. I'm barely good enough to be called functional, at least in my eyes. But any topic, anything you've got a question on, come right out and ask. If I've got an answer, I'll do my best to give it to you. I'm hoping Joe sent me, because I didn't see the question come back through here from Joe. So I'm hoping he sent me the question on YouTube there, which he's done before. Yeah. Derek goes, it was because R. Keith was around a little Australian space elf. Now, I'm wondering who I'm guessing that elf was the space elf. I forget his name, but I forget the name of half the people I know. That's just the reality of it. But yeah, Shade, if you've got a question, absolutely pop it out, but put it in at least partial capitals so I can find it. Also, if you guys like the stream, definitely give us a thumbs up. And do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of it. What do I got here? Yeah, Christine, go back up here. Oh, I can understand that. I remember, Cowie's just mentioning his blood pressure was sky high listening to Mick West on Spaced Out. I can understand that all too well. I'd actually listened to him. iVoices asked me to drop in, told me he was there, asked me to drop in, so I did. And I'll tell you, I can understand why your blood pressure went up. The difficult part with everything, you got to remember, everybody has their own opinion. And there are topics that I have come to the conclusion that I don't even bother with anymore because it goes around in circles and can get really, really sour. And Derek's just confirming, yeah, that was Sapphire Elf. I kind of figured he was Aussie. But, the reality for me is I have trouble deciding if somebody is English, Australian, or a New Zealander. The reality for me is the accents are very similar. Okay. But I don't have a preference to one group or another, to be honest. From my standpoint, I just look at it going, this is what I'm dealing with. That's what the person is. Everybody is absolutely entitled to their own, their own opinions. My issue is this. I figure we've got to learn to accept everybody's opinion, yes. But accept them does not mean you have to actually agree with them. I was talking to a chap the other day. I was talking to a Jehovah Witness the other day. And like I told him, I turned around, we were talking and he made a comment. I looked at him and I said, look, we're just going to have to agree to disagree because this is one of those things that's just not going to find a mesh point. The reality that I've looked at is very simple. Okay, we've got a world here with over 8 billion people. Now, I'm telling you, if you've traveled anywhere, you'll see we're not short of land anywhere. Okay, we are short of land that is right smack in the middle of amenities and all the distractions and what have you. But if I could function, if I could function in a rural setting, as in I could do the physical work, I could do my own, start my own fires, and I mean as in start a fire in a fireplace, okay, and do it safely. If I could do the minor maintenance and what have you, then going out into a rural community would be great. That's not going to happen with me. Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at this. Derek goes, everyone, just be prepared for the Lou Elizondo news that will be breaking soon. Don't be surprised. What comes out, nice people get famous, they feel above the law and impenetrable. And sometimes your heroes in life or the people you looked up to disappoint. And that is very much the case. I could not agree with you more. And this is why I tell people, look, I've worked things out. My intention is real simple. Okay, number one, the things I'm starting now are things that I feel are beneficial. Now, I'm what you would call, well, I'm just flat out poor if you look at the poverty level. Okay, I'm no longer working for anybody. I work for me. But I do intend on turning things around and employing as many people as I can where I can contribute through what I'm generating. I can contribute to their welfare. And I don't mean a welfare check. There we go, Shade. Oh, okay. Shade is asking here. My question, do you know anything about the supposed entrance into the Earth at the North Pole? Yeah, there's one at the South Pole as well, but here's the thing. Those do lead to what you call inner Earth or hollow Earth. But here's the kicker to it. If you take a look at inside, okay, you look in, you can't see anything. Of course, you're looking into a deep hole. But about a mile down, maybe a little further, okay, they've got a shunt down there. So when you go into the Earth, okay, when you go into the North Pole, okay, you get in about a mile. Okay, I think it's about a mile. Distance isn't my strong suit, but you hit a jump point, and you get popped out the other side of Earth, about a mile under it, thereby coming up through a hole in the South Pole. Okay, stopping people from gaining access on a mass level. Okay, and it's done by quite literally what I actually refer to as true magic or proper manipulation of the subquantum field. Okay, or of 0-point energy. This is like Hollow Earth is there. Okay, many of what you consider mythological creatures live in the inner Earth. Okay, Joe's going to Michigan Bigfoot Rob show with Kim on a while back was the best one yet. He had the hairs on my arm standing up. I've got to try and find time. I was planning on being on World Bigfoots tonight, but because my life got a little scrambled, I know I'm not going to make that one. Okay, at least unless it's a lot longer than I'm expecting. I may be able to catch the tail end of it, but I'm not exactly holding my breath. Not a problem there at all, Shade. I will be now. I can't see what I'm doing. This is one of the drawbacks of having a somewhat smaller than I would like desktop. I can't see everything that I'm trying to look at. Put you there. Yeah, today is Sunday. Tomorrow I haven't figured out what I'm working on. But I do know on Friday, not on Friday rather, I do know on Tuesday, I am going to be talking at length about the Sarkon Empire. Sarkon are what you would know as Alpha Draconis, one of the longest standing reptilian civilizations. Okay, now I'm just looking at this. Derek's gone. Who made the holes? Well, the holes themselves were part of the construction of the planet. Quite frankly, that was just about a really bad move. I'll tell you, having 2 coffee cups sitting here, one with coffee, one with paint water, you got to be careful. But when the holes in towards inner Earth, okay, were literally part of the construction. They were done when the planet was built, but they were capitalized on by the dwarfid race. Okay, and the dwarven race are a very old race. They were built before man was. Okay, now I will tell you, I talk about these different races, but in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, I actually include them in it as well, where it comes to the interaction, so you get to see some of the actual social interactions of them. Okay, this being said, I will in time be getting pictures done up that I can, like prints done up that can be sold, and that sort of thing. This is all part of a growing company. I decided I was building an empire. I got asked by my other half, why an empire? I said, well, because people can look at an empire and go, this is how money is done. I don't really honestly care about money. Where are we going here? Chad says, Keith, I have a suggestion for poster placement. Let me show you something. I do want to hear it there, Chad. Do want to show you something here because I buried it. Primarily because I wanted to keep it flat. So, since I'm done with this for a moment, that could have been painful. This is the only poster I've got done right now. Okay, I will be getting more done as I go along. As a matter of fact, come to think of it, I've got another one I can do right away. But I am going to be starting to get posters done. Okay. And yeah, the answer to that neat little question is there's all kinds of things that can happen there. I just have to find out what it's costing, as it were. What are we looking at here? What do we got here? Just scanning through. The empty spot next to your right shoulder. That'd be over on the back of that door, like where I've got my my satchel hanging. I presume that's what you're referring to. Yeah, because that's my right shoulder, which would have to be back there. No, mid room wall. Oh, wait a minute. You're talking up here. You're talking on. Okay, I was actually thinking about that. And yeah, that one I can quite readily do. I am doing my best. I mean, yes, this is my bedroom, and that's why I've got this thing here. They call it a bed. Needless to say, it doesn't take me long to get to my office. Well, I will actually, I was thinking of that. That's actually not a wall, that's actually a sliding door. I just don't move it very often. But I will get my son to give me a hand with it when he gets home. Okay, and get that up. That's actually, I was debating that, but it would add color to the room. It's the only door there, but it's a sliding door and it'll fit quite nicely. The boxes on the floor, they'll be going today. At least some of them will. Okay. Yeah, it gets fun trying to figure out what, and when I try turning things around, you should have seen my trying to work on construction with my father. I would take a look at something and just a simple staircase cut for a chunk of wood, for a panel to put up on the wall, took me 45 minutes to do just a simple staircase cut to put it into the corner of the wall. I couldn't hold it long enough to figure it out, right? But fortunately, getting that straight, it works out conveniently because it's got this neat little straight edge that I can work with. But no, that's an excellent idea. I've also got that other panel. I don't know how deep that panel is underneath the picture hanging there. Matter of fact, I'm wondering. I don't think that's big enough. But I may just have filled that spot, depending on whether this is big enough. But I don't think so. No, because it has to hang that way. It was a thought. I do have to find a place to put this one, but that's my son's work. That's my youngest, so it will find a place to hang. I just haven't figured out where yet. But no, I look at it. I'm taking this company, okay, and I'm going to make it do what I feel should happen. Hopefully, other companies will follow suit. I do not like the idea of talking about doing something and telling people this is what you should do, or what will help, and then turning around and ignoring it. Okay, from my standpoint, it boils down to this: the more we can support each other, the better this world becomes. And I know that's going to upset some people, because some people have this brilliant idea that they belong at the top. Okay, they've got money, therefore they should be treated better. I'm telling you, I don't look at people's pocketbook and decide how to treat them. I look at the way people behave, and that dictates what happens. But in any event, I still look at it going, I'll treat people the way I personally desire to be treated. Because for me, this is the way that the world has to turn. If we leave it on the path it's on, we're in serious trouble. Okay. And, unfortunately, I've looked at the way the world's going. I've seen this happen before. Of course, I do have that neat little bonus of having actually had. Come here. I've got that neat little bonus of remembering my past lives. And what we're doing right now was exactly the same thing that was done way back in Rome, where people were treated like garbage, taxed all out of control. And then of course, the people that had money were the ones that were deciding, oh, we deserve better treatment because we got more money. Money is not the be all and end all. I'm lucky in a lot of ways. I certainly am not driven by money, which does eliminate the issue of whether or not, they say everybody can be bought. And I'll tell you, I will take money from anybody that offers it. I'm not too proud to say, hey, I can use the money. I really can. Sam, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day has been going well. I thought about, I couldn't find what. We're going to stop that for a second and get one thought out. For me, finding gloves was really a pain in the neck. Okay. Because try and find a glove that's built like that. Okay. One girlfriend actually made me, she crocheted me a set of gloves that fit my hand properly. Now, before my stroke, this hand also stayed together, but as you can see, not quite so much anymore. I do have work gloves at home that I never use, and one set of crochet gloves that I actually wear in the winter. But that's because it was built with three fingers. Most comfortable pair of gloves I ever got a hold of. I think this must be hard water. I'm just what I'm doing, in case you couldn't tell. What I'm looking at here is this white. All this white has to come off. I have no idea what the white is. But then I got the thing this way. I'm thinking it's just hard water, but I don't know. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's okay. Oh, heavens no. No, in all fairness, Sam, I really don't. Okay. From my standpoint, I do pay attention. I do become jumping. Jiminy, we're having trouble talking. From my standpoint, I do clean with cleaners and what have you. But I have never, whether this is good, bad, or indifferent, I don't know. But I've never bothered with cleaning gloves unless I was using something heavy on the acid side. And for me, even watered down, like solid, like straight bleach, yeah, definitely use the protective gloves, right? But I don't work with acid. If I'm using a vinegar solution or a diluted bleach, I don't bother. Okay, my healing rate has always handled it quite nicely. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I will tell you, for those of you that are watching, if you're using any chemical at all, use protective gloves. And yes, I realize I just said I don't. Okay, I'm telling you, you don't have a healing rate that works like mine does. Okay, I mean, you think about it. I snapped this arm to the point they had to plate it. Okay, it took me 9 days to heal the break, to heal the bone. I don't mean the surface of it. I mean to heal it straight through. Startled the tar out of the poor doctors. But when you're working with chemicals, I'm telling you, take your chemical training, take your safety training, and follow the guidelines. You don't need acid burns. You don't need to destroy your joints by putting whatever pesticides are there. Okay, use the proper protective gear. Honestly, Sam, no. And I know that's probably a bad thing. I do, however, have band-aids in the house. I do have medicated ointment to work with. But do I have a proper safety kit in my house? No, never have had. Also, don't have a fire extinguisher in my house, by the way. Yes, I know that's called pushing limits. But I kind of look at it going, I probably should, but I ended up with a slightly different outlook on life. Something to do with actually being dead 4 times before I hit 10. Once I literally walked out of the morgue with. So I keep an eye on what's going on? Absolutely. If we end up with somebody getting cut, we can deal with it. But do I worry about blood and what have you? I don't work in that field. The only people that are in my house are my kids. And they've got similar healing rates to what I've got, which is really kind of convenient. They don't have the immune system I've got. This much is pretty much clear. But I will tell you, for those of you that don't have a medical kit, don't have a safety kit or a first aid kit in your house, I do strongly encourage you to go out and get one. Okay, I really do. And that sounds completely backwards. It's like, well, you don't have one. Well, no, I don't, which is probably not brilliant. But on the other hand, I also have a DNR on my license. Okay, and what that means is if I end up dead, don't bring me back again. I've already come back enough times this lifetime. You mind letting me go? But I'm not worried about, I really don't worry about, health a lot. I do know my heart is a bit of a mess, but first aid kits won't help that. Mac Geek, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Mac is just saying, I have several first aid kits at home and use them for burns. Hey Joe, how you doing? Unfortunately, Joe, I did not even see the repost of your question. So hopefully you sent it to me on YouTube. I will be going back into that tonight and double checking anyway. Yeah, I remember the term trioxin. I don't know what it's used for. My dad used to work for pest control, so he had a whole pile of things that he knew about. Myself, not quite so much. Matter of fact, not anywhere near so much. They threw me out of chemistry in grade 8 because of a bit of a glitch on my system. The fact of the matter is, when I talk about people do what I say now, I don't tell people do what I say, not what I do. Except in the case of first aid. I will tell you, I've got no functional interest in going and getting a first aid kit. My eldest son, on the other hand, I think may have brought one home. May have. He's got much more of that inclination in him than I do. And yes, I realize if somebody were to come into my house and go, I need to take a look at your first aid kit and what you're prepped for, they'd look at me and go, are you out of your mind? I'd be going, no, my shrink already told me I'm perfectly fine. But no, from my standpoint, boils down to this. I know what my limits are. And it's not a question of, oh, it'll never happen to me. It may well happen to me. I mean, you think about it. Back in 1996, I was married and we were living downtown. And I get this bang on the window. It's like bang, 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 bang. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, so I opened my eyes. I said, hang on, get my pants on. I said, no, correction. I said, hold on, just hold on, keep your pants on, I'm coming. Guy yells out, he goes, your house is on fire. I says, fine, I'll get my pants on. So I got dressed and shook my wife's shoulder, and I says, dear, you might want to get up. She goes, why? What time is it? I says, 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, why do I want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning? I says, because the house is on fire. Yeah, Emmy goes, I cut myself. I use paper towel and masking tape. See, there's nothing masking tape won't solve. Actually, it's duct tape that most people use, but masking tape works great. But no, the guy tells me this. Well, I told my wife. I said, well, the house is on fire. She goes, and so she's out of bed, racing to get out the door. We get outside. I looked at the cop is trying to pour water on the fire, right? Because the fire truck hadn't got there. And I looked at the cop and I says, you know what really ticks me off about this? And he looks at me a little stunned. He says, oh, I don't know. Somebody lit your house on fire while you were in it? I says, no. He said, what do you mean, no? Your house is on fire. I says, technically, it's not my house. I says, but the thing that really ticks me off is whoever lit it didn't tell me ahead of time so I could dig the wieners out of the freezer. The guy looks at me and he goes, you're worried about wieners and your house is on fire. I said, well, it's a waste of a perfectly good fire. You know, and so we got the fire under control. You know, from my standpoint, it really boiled down to this. I wasn't worried about the house, right? The poor cop, he didn't know what to do with it. But you know, when I cut this hand, you know, I just took a whole pile of paper towel. No, I think it's this one. I forget now. I didn't even scar badly. 7 stitches and I can't find a scar mark, and I don't remember which hand it was. It was probably my right hand that the glass disintegrated, and I cut all the way through the middle of it. Right. So I cut my hand over and pinched it off with paper towel in hand. I phoned my dad up. He happened to live upstairs at the time in another apartment. I phoned him up. I said, Dad, I think I just cut my hand really badly. He says, do you need to go to the hospital? I said, I don't know. I can't tell by then for the blood. Okay. Terry's asking, Keith, is it possible for a human to be part daemon or angel? Technically, the answer is yes. Okay. But I will tell you, the odds of when you're talking, if you're asking, is a half-breed likely to have wings? Or a tail for that matter, the answer is no. Okay. Now, the Angelus are compatible with humans. So yes, you will find half-breeds. Okay, daemons, technically it may be possible. I've never heard of a half-breed daemon. Okay, usually because the whole issue of getting involved in that capacity with a daemon ends up with one small little problem. They usually end up killing the human. And that's even if they like them. Okay, the Angelus, that's another issue altogether. Those I've heard of a number of half-breeds. And there's a big difference between being a half-breed and a hybrid. Half-breed, you have a normal, as humans would call it, a normal relationship that results in a child. Okay, a hybrid is a lab job. I worry about, actually, I wish I didn't worry about things. The reality of it is, Shade, the thing that concerns me, and the whole reason I do any of what I'm doing, is because this civilization, I have seen multiple times go down the same road it's going down, and every time it's ended up the same way, where civilization has collapsed. Now, we are on the verge of another collapse. I'm not a doomsayer. I'm just looking at the markers. Okay, you look at it, and we have the wealthy treating the poor like garbage, the rich getting taxed less and less, the working people getting taxed more and more, and the people that are funneled down onto the street are getting totally ignored. Now, they've done this several times in the past. Okay, it was done in Rome. I tried to derail it via the Senate at that point. I actually spent 4 lifetimes in Rome. Okay, trying to turn it around. Okay, my first lifetime was as a peasant. Okay, I worked out in the fields. Okay, then I became a landowner. Okay, and I ended up becoming a member of the Roman military, and eventually got into the Senate. Okay, there were 5. Okay, I also ended up, the last one I had was as a gladiator, and that was quite intentionally orchestrated. So have I seen society devolve? Absolutely, and it's doing exactly the same thing now, but It is not beyond assistance. Working together, we can turn this around. There is no question there at all. But we all have to do our part. For me, yeah, I'm likely going to stay relatively reclusive. I will remain. I tried opening an office a while ago. It was a bad idea. So I will likely remain working from home for quite some time. But will I find people that can assist? Absolutely. And this is why I said at this point, I'm now at a point where going on to people's shows to talk about the different books I'm writing, to talk about the efforts I'm putting in, I'm absolutely up for it at this point. Okay, beyond just talking about one aspect. No, I actually remembered. That's actually a really good question there, Cowie. I actually remembered my past lives as a child before the fever, but the reality of the fever is it took place when I was 20 months old. So I mean, did that wake me up? I don't know if it had a whole lot more bearing, but have I documented a lot of my past lives? Certainly. Some of them I will not lay claim to. Okay. There are some past lives that people right out of the blue have remembered me from. And they're ones that I personally will not go, oh, I was this person. Because the reality of it is, even from my standpoint, it's a bit of a hiccup. Joe goes, when cops see you, Keith, do they try and avoid you? Your cop stories are hilarious. No, in all fairness, I don't have a problem with the police. Okay. And the really funny part about it for me is every one of the events that I've talked about that I've had dealings with the police, every one of them are absolutely 100% true. And most of them had witnesses. Okay. But the thing is, I look at what police do, and I know not all police are great people. I know this. But even if they're the worst people on the planet, they still have a difficult job. As do the firemen, the ambulance drivers, the so-called first responders. And in my eyes, you guys are all first responders. You see an accident, you jump in, you're a first responder. Whether or not you have training as a fireman, as a policeman, it doesn't matter. I absolutely agree with you, Cowie. It really is usually a thankless job. I've been known to, and it's quite common for me, if I'm going into a restaurant and I see an ambulance driver or a policeman sitting down having lunch, I will stop for a moment and just say thank you very much for your help. I'll do the same thing to somebody that's working in the yard in front of an apartment building. Just yesterday, I was walking down the street, down a side road, and there was this little woman, not that little in all fairness, but she was in her 80s, right? And she was working in the yard, and I stopped to say thank you so much for tidying that up, right? She wasn't employed there. What it was, she was in her 80s and bored, so she asked the boss. She asked the manager if she could tidy up the flower gardens, especially since their landscaper was ill. But while I'm talking to her, she went to get up, and her hip gave, and she ended up on the ground. Well, my first reaction, bear in mind I was on a cane, but my first reaction was I looked at her and I says, "Do you need a hand?" Right, because she was trying to get up, and she goes, "No, it just takes me a minute. Just give me a little bit of time." So I stood there until she got back to her feet, right, and got back sitting down on her little walker, right. Turned out she had replaced both knees and one knee and both hips, right. But the one hip was giving way, so it takes her a little bit of time to get up. But I made sure I stayed there until she was back upright and able to walk again. It wasn't any skin off my nose, but it's one of those things I looked at and went, here's a young lass that has fallen down. She's clearly not hurt per se, just not in a good position. But it took her a little bit, and she got back to her feet. But I did find out a long time ago, if you see somebody that's having a physical complication, don't jump in and try and help. Ask first. I mean, obviously, if they're beyond the point of communication, absolutely do what you can. And yeah, I know there's this wonderful thing about, well, if you jump in to help, you can get sued if something goes wrong. Yeah, probably can. And I'm not going to go into how I pulled this one off. But I was talking to a chap one day. I didn't know who he was. But he made this comment. He brought the idea up of somebody had broken into a house of a guy he knew. And the guy that broke in got hurt. He turned around and sued the owner of the house for him getting hurt. Now, this is a guy that was involved in B&E. He turned around, sued the owner of the house, and won. And I looked at this guy and at the guy I was talking to, and I says, they better pray nobody ever does that to me. He goes, what do you mean? I says, nobody better make the mistake of breaking into my house and then trying to sue me for for them getting hurt. He goes, why not? So I laid out a very detailed, very drawn out, very logical assessment of a countersuit. And this guy, he listened to the whole thing. He goes, what was your name again? So I told him. And he pulls out this little flip pad and he writes it down. He says, no, your full name. So I told him. He says, your full legal name. And I'm like, well, here it is. So he goes, great, thank you very much. I said, what is my full name all that important for? I said, why are you so interested? He goes, because I'm a lawyer for such and such a law firm. I'm one of the partners. He says, if I ever see your name come across my desk or the desk of one of my partners, I'm going to tell them, do not touch this case. I looked at him and I says, how come? He says, because Keith, you've got a rock solid ironclad countersuit that nobody's going to win except you. I thought about that. Callie's just saying I should have been a lawyer. I actually took 3 years of law in high school. But I thought about the issue of being a lawyer. The only problem with it is I could not become a criminal lawyer. There's no way I could. Okay. Because with a criminal lawyer, you have to do your best to defend the client, whether or not they're guilty. Well, being a working psychic, I already know whether they're guilty. And I'm really not good at the issue of defending somebody if I know they're in the wrong. Now, could I have gone into corporate law? Certainly. But the loopholes that are now built into corporate law, I don't agree with. They're absolutely retarded. And I know that's a lousy word. Oh, you shouldn't call something retarded because somebody will be upset. Somebody will be upset if you call a lemon yellow. I'm just not that worried about it. So from that wrote the corporate law out. And when it comes to civil law, well, again, you've got this thing with, well, there's a precedent of this, that, and the other thing. I don't care about the precedent. I'm interested in the here and now. So will I ever go into law? No. But on the other hand, do I use my knowledge of it to my advantage? Absolutely. I got told by one guy that I've got no clue how to negotiate. I looked at him and I said, certainly I do. He goes, no. He says, you're not a good negotiator. I looked at him and I said, why? I go, here's the contract. Here's what I'm willing to do. Bottom line, here's what I'm willing to do. Here's what I'm willing to pay. Bottom line. Right. I hand it to you. If you agree, then we sign it off and we carry on. If you don't agree, we walk away. Contract negotiation is done. He goes, that's not negotiation. I said, look, reality of negotiation is this. One person puts forth an offer. Okay. The second person looks at it, makes an adjustment, hands it back, and goes back and forth for who knows how long until you guys get to a point where one says, here's the bottom line. This is what I'm willing to do. And the other one says yes or no. He goes, that's the way it's supposed to work. I said, I just write all the middle stuff out of the way. I can negotiate an entire contract in a matter of minutes if it's something I'm working on, if I understand the situation. Because yes, there's all sorts of things that you can do with law that you can make it work in one way, in a certain way. But there was a mentally challenged kid that was young adult that was asked one day on national TV, do you understand the legal system? And he goes, absolutely. Guys, and the interviewer says, well, can you explain the Canadian legal system? The kid goes, absolutely. He who tells the biggest lies wins. Now, I am a firm believer that the truth is still the best move. Yes, being honest can cause all kinds of problems. Have I ticked a lot of people off? Absolutely. There was a chap in this chat room that asked me a question. I told him flat out, until I get direct go-ahead to answer the question, I'm not answering. His comment was, well, it's not like we're going to track the person down. I said, I don't care what your reasoning is. This is my way of looking at it. Either I get go-ahead from the individual or I don't. If I don't have it, if I don't have direct information, no, I haven't. I had to leave it sit. If I don't have the definite information, I'm not going there. Okay, I've been leaving it dry. Right. But I've still got the rest of it. And besides that, I've got several months to deal with this. Right. And in all fairness, I'll have this one done before the end of the week. Probably before the end of, definitely before the end of the week. I've got the purple on the bottom here. I'm debating. I've got holiday red and holiday green that'll be on these other two bands. And then I'm just going to leave the rim here, this ridge, and this one. I'm just going to leave these two ridges as the terracotta. But this one, I haven't quite figured out what I'm doing. Like, as far as what color I'm going to do with it. I'm not an artist, so painting, a landscape on here is just, it's a cute thought, but not a real wise one. But it's more an issue of the thought from my standpoint of whether or not I can work with it. Don't know how I'm going to remove that. Of course, I don't know what the white is. Mind you, the paint may go right over top of it. I haven't tried yet. Where am I standing here? Oh, there we go. Just got to make a couple of notes while I'm thinking about things here. As soon as I get done here, I've got some writing projects already set to go. That I've got to deal with. Absolutely no question there. Well, let's get my hand working, shall we? But I've got a bunch of writing projects I've got to go through, getting my finances sorted out. And this is one of those things that I will be dealing with. And again, if you guys have a topic in any field that you'd like to take a look at, absolutely come right out and let me know. Okay, I do make notes of them. Wonder whether or not this happened. Where are we? I'll deal with that afterwards. But I will be going through emails and what have you again tonight. So any questions, and by the way, if you had a question that didn't get answered, absolutely drop me a line. innervoiceenterprises@yahoo.ca is the easiest one to get a hold of me through. Okay. Absolutely drop me a line there with the question. I'll do my best to answer it. I am going back into consulting, or more to the point, I'm actually starting to let people know that I will be doing consulting on a private level, either personal or business. It doesn't matter. Okay. But the reality of it is, this is where I do things for free. Okay. Here, the newsletter will be done for free. Consulting itself will be charged for. I will not open this idea of, you should go and do a nonprofit. Not a snowball's prayer will I ever open a nonprofit. The hint is in the name. Okay. I don't do things for no profit. There is and don't get me wrong, obviously I'm doing these too. The newsletter, which will eventually become a global magazine, and this YouTube channel, which will eventually have a solid following of higher than what it's got. Now, right now, I've ended up losing a few followers, a few subscribers, but from what I gather, some people have lost their subscriptions. They've been cut off the subscription for whatever reason. Not my doing. That part of it isn't my doing. That's just something that seems to happen on occasion. But, I am going back into that side. I am going to be starting to post. As a matter of fact, I'll be posting some of them tonight for the different books I've got. And yes, Chad, like we talked earlier, I will be getting that poster up that I showed you. And what did I do with it? Did I put that? Yep, I did. But no, I strongly encourage people, when you're looking at gifts, whether it is to somebody for a birthday, just because, or for Christmas, doesn't matter. And I know there's a lot of you out there that'll go, I don't celebrate Christmas. I talked to a very definitive Jewish lady one day, and in her eyes, proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jewish people, the Jewish community, celebrates Christmas just differently. But if you're planning on giving a gift to somebody, certainly make sure you follow into what they like. Okay, if you can. But do not worry about the specifics, in my opinion. Okay, I'm looking at it going, a gift is something you feel that person would enjoy. Okay, maybe it's something that they don't get to do very often. Like where it comes to food, and I will be doing this year, like I said earlier. I will be looking at getting a lot of actual Christmas hampers together. Okay. And turning just small boxes. I'm not talking about, $100 worth of, well, it might be $100 worth of groceries. I don't know. But if it will be an issue of, here's a Christmas gift. Maybe a few cans, maybe a gift certificate. If I'm looking at meat, meat or vegetables, I will buy a gift certificate from the store, right? That say, well, if it's going to be that way, I'll buy a gift certificate for food from that store and hand that to the person as a Christmas gift. And the reason for that is you give people money, it'll go to all the enjoyable things, which is great. But if the idea is to help people with their food, then you run into an interesting little problem. Okay. This is why when I'm talking to people on the street, if they're asking for money for food, and I've done this a number of times to people, I talked to this one lady that sits outside of a grocery store on occasion. I happen to know her, but I didn't when I first met her. And I asked what the problem was. She explained it. So I turned around and I said, okay, are you allergic to anything? And she goes, no. I says, great. So with that in hand, I went in, bought her a bag of groceries and came out and gave it to her. This is just the way I do things. This is not the way everybody will. Okay. Now Cowie is going, Keith, what do you think of the D-Wave quantum computer? Now, to be honest with you, I understand what you're asking. I've never looked into what they've got. But the advanced computers, as long as you stay away from true AI, the more advanced computers, the faster they are and what have you, they're great. They are a fabulous technological addition. Okay. Will they have some hiccups? Certainly. Okay. But I don't, from my standpoint, don't fear technology. I don't fear it. I just don't work well with it. Okay. So I'm not entirely certain what the D-Wave computer itself is, but I suspect it's working on a whole new system of information transfer, which has a great capacity for being very beneficial. In a nutshell, Cowie, you take an AI, you take a computer, and a true AI will not have an emotional interface, which means you give it a problem, it will solve the problem on logic base, which is great. Okay. And, this is going to sound cold, but it will solve the problem. Okay. What it will do is go, and I laid this out the other day. An AI will take a look at take any area of land. Okay. But let's say you've got a chunk of property that can successfully sustain 10,000 people, that it can support with the nutrients in the property, with the water supply, with the arable land. It'll support 10,000 people. Okay. Now, there's a lot of countries where your number of people in that area can be as much as 100,000 people. Okay, bear in mind, that wipes out most of your arable land. But humans go, okay, let's give them a little bit of medical aid, let's give them some extra food, and let's try and keep them healthy. AI won't do that. AI won't even consider that. They'll look at it and go, okay, well, let's take the compassionate thing and go, you've got 100,000 people on a property that will sustain 10,000. So here's our solution. You have 90,000 people. I don't care which of you go. 90,000 of you, no matter if it's your family heritage, doesn't matter at all. 90,000 of you are leaving this land because we're only able to support 10,000. Now, we're going to be nice on an AI standpoint. You've got 30 days to get off the property. Okay, 30 days. At the end of 30 days, not 30 days and 1 hour, 30 days, that line drops. And an AI will wipe out wholesale the first 90,000 people they come to. They won't check who you're voting for. They won't care who you crawl into bed with. They certainly won't look at your pocketbook. And they will wipe out 90,000 people wholesale without damaging the superstructure. Okay. Once that is done, they'll move all the bodies out of the way and then start replanting. And they will bring the land back up to support the 10,000 that they know it can support. The other 90,000 are dead. There is no mid-range for it. Okay, that's where your problem with AI is. AI won't, this war that's going on right now, this war wouldn't have gone longer than 15 minutes. Okay, they'd have gone, this is the problem. Well, there's the solution. They'd have wiped out the problem. The war would have been gone. Now, yes, there would be a staggering amount of collateral damage. Okay, but the war is causing a staggering amount of collateral damage anyway. Just AI won't worry about the human side of it. Okay, this is where the problem with AI is. This is also, by the way, the same problem with people going, well, if the off-worlders are so interested in us, why don't they come down and straighten out our mess? Sorry, guys, your mess. This is where I come in. Okay, this is where I'm standing here going, this is some of the things you can do that is in your control, not the control of the elites, not the control of the religious icons, but your control. You've got the capacity as a society to work together and turn this world back into a functional world. It's up to you, not up to everybody else. In answer to your question, yes, when I see something out of whack, I will do something about it. Okay, I don't worry about whether or not I'm getting paid for it. I don't get paid for this. I'm surprised people actually listen to me on occasion. You know, oh, nice part about my coffee. Gordon, I appreciate that concern. Gordon is just saying, drink more water for your heart and brain, brain and body. But coffee is, cut coffee as much as you can. Here's a neat thing with the coffee. I actually went to a nutritionist about that. The average person the average coffee drinker takes a 12-cup pot of coffee and puts 3 or 4 tablespoons of coffee into that pot. I take a 12-cup pot and put 1. Okay. And according to the nutritionist that I went to, she said basically all I'm doing is changing the flavor of the water from chlorine to coffee. Okay, but apparently I don't put enough coffee in my water, in my coffee, to be of any interest. I don't add sugar and I don't add cream to it. So what she said was, drink it all you want. Right? She said basically what you're doing is keeping yourself hydrated. Now, I do agree with you that too much caffeine is a mess. Okay. Do I take it into consideration? Yeah. But I will tell you, the water we have here, I'm drinking chlorine, and rest assured that's worse on my system than coffee is. However, do I take into consideration what people talk about where it comes to health? Absolutely. This is how I ended up on hawthorn berries on hawthornberry juice for my heart. Okay, it's also why I've got an electrolytic balancer that I use to keep my electrolytes in balance. I've got no interest in dropping dead anytime soon. Yeah, I understand your concern there, Gordon. I really do. So far it hasn't killed me. Well, maybe it did. I don't know. I've died enough times. Maybe that was one of them. But I mean, on the plus side, I've only actually gone through 1 pot today. And I've been up since, when did I get up this morning? 5 o'clock? Today is, yeah, I got up at 5:30. Of course, I didn't go to bed until 1. Chad, that's a cute thought. I love the idea. Only problem with uploading and loading videos is I got no idea how to do it. Okay, I'm just looking at this. Chad's going, you have to upload videos along with your live streams. I think 3 uploads every 90 days, aka 1 a month. I will be looking into that. I was supposed to start doing the short videos, and then things got in the way. Like today, for instance, I was planning on being in World's chat room today, but I ended up with another problem that I've got to go deal with, which is going to circumvent that. I've been averaging, Cowie. I actually track my sleep, and I track my sleep from midnight to midnight. Since January 1st of this year, I've averaged just under 5 hours a night, even with grabbing naps in the afternoon. Yeah, I think I was doing them a while ago. It was weird. I ran into problems for a while where I couldn't do the uploads because nothing was working right. I am looking at getting back to some of that though, Chad. Honestly, it's a technological glitch for me for the most part. Oh, now that I didn't know. I am going to have to catch up with you and really catch up with you or somebody else and figure out how to actually go about making that happen. Because am I intending on going and being monetized? Yeah. Okay, I'm sitting at 506 right now. I know we've got to have 1,000 subscribers. I've already got well over the hours necessary for it. But I will start dealing with that as well. I just have to look back into how to go about doing it. Which I'm going to have to talk to somebody about it. Now, with that in mind, guys, I have a whole pile of things let me go. Oh. Okay. Chad, I definitely need to make some time to talk to you. Okay. Oh, nice. I'm already over that. Okay, well, then we will deal with that. I definitely want to sit down and talk to you and figure out how to go about making that happen, because that is one of my goals for this year. I'm still aiming for the 1,000, by the way. But we have passed the 2 hour mark. I've got things I gotta get done. So I will be in touch with you, Chad, if that's okay, in order to try and sort this out and figure out how to best go about it. But for the moment, people, if you enjoyed the stream, absolutely, give us a thumbs up if you like the stream. Do subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of it. Really appreciate you sharing your time with me. Unfortunately, I gotta get flying here, so I'm going to call it a day. I will be back again tomorrow, at least assuming something doesn't go really sideways. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.